A forge world is the imperial term used for the numerous planets that are directly controlled by the Adeptus Mechanicus. On these densely populated worlds, citizens toil endlessly to craft weaponry for the armies of the Emperor, their bodies often enhanced with cybernetic technology so that they might better fulfill their tasks or survive the toxic conditions of the Manufactoria. The denizens are likely to have been born to do a specific task, like their parents before them and their children that will come after, focusing their entire lives on a single job. It is a rigid society from which few escape, where the great cult Mechanicus and its tech priest overlords enforce the construction and toil of the teeming billions working below. All have in common a complete dedication to the manufacture of the various machines and devices of the Imperium, the pursuit and preservation of ancient, scientific and technical knowledge, and the worship of the machine god. Because of the Adeptus Mechanicus monopoly on technical knowledge and expertise in imperial culture, the Forge Worlds are the Imperium's primary source of all kinds of hardware, from farming equipment to war machines such as starships, tanks, aerospace fighters, or even titans. Ancient pacts between the Adeptus Mechanicus and other worlds and institutions of the Imperium oblige the various Forge Worlds to supply other planets and the various military arms of the Imperium, such as the Astra Militarum and the Adeptus Astartes, with the products of their Manufactoria. Much of a Forge World is like an immense factory, with industrial complexes soaring into the sky and mine workings burrowing deep into the planetary crust. Forge Worlds build great numbers of complex technologies, like tanks or spacecraft parts for the Imperial Guard and the Imperial Navy. They are ruled by the Adeptus Mechanicus, whose training and research facilities are located there, along with the grand cathedrals to their deity, the Omnicia, in which the ruling archmagi of the tech priests enact the grandest, most complex rituals to honor the machine god. Every Forge World is designated with a production grade by the local branch of the Administratum, which at a glance indicates the size and importance of that Forge World's production capabilities. Production grades run from I Maximus for the most productive of the Mechanicus worlds to 4th Tertius for the lowest. The Adeptus Mechanicus fleets, its armies of cybernetically enhanced tech guard warriors, and, most formidably of all, the Titan legions, are also all based on Forge Worlds. The Forge Worlds are largely autonomous from the rest of the Imperium, as allowed by the terms of the Treaty of Mars that founded the Imperium in the 30th millennium, and the Adeptus Mechanicus is loath to allow anyone on their surface other than tech priests and the legions of menial, lobotomized cybernetic servitors who labor for them. The surface of a Forge World is normally completely covered in massive factory complexes that stretch across the horizon. Its ecosystem has been completely destroyed. The air is saturated with toxic gases, and rivers flow with toxic runoff from the multitude of manufactoria. In many cases, even seas and oceans have been purposefully evaporated to make room for more manufactoria. However, the sheer amount of industrial output greatly benefits the Imperium as a whole. All of the items produced by a Forge World are constructed according to a very specific design formula that varies from Forge World to Forge World, even for otherwise identical pieces of the same equipment. These variant designs are known as that Forge Worlds pattern. While there are hundreds of Forge Worlds in the Imperium, the most important is Mars, home of the Adeptus Mechanicus political and spiritual head, the Fabricator General of Mars, and the Imperium's first Forge World. Other major Forge Worlds include Ryza, known for its advanced plasma technology, Griffin 4, home of the Titan Legio Gryphonicus, Agrippina, a primary supplier of military goods to the fortress world of Cadia, Phaeton, manufacturer of the Lehman Russ main battle tank, and Urdesh, the primary Forge World within the Sabbat World sector. Of all the Forge Worlds, only Trebor catered exclusively to the industrial needs of lost Cadia. One of the most sought-after creations from Trebor is its version of the Vanquisher cannon, which is the most powerful of all the Vanquisher cannon variants. During the Dark Age of technology, the twin empires of Terra and Mars coexisted, to the mutual benefit of both. Trebor was colonized by survivors of colony expeditions from both Terra and Mars after they were lost during a warp storm. This forced both colonies to combine their knowledge and build the most technologically advanced of all the Forge worlds. Trebor was only rediscovered by Commissar Yarrick during the Second War for Armageddon in the late 41st millennium. As a result, Trebor has sworn its allegiance only to Yarrick and to Cadia. Its arms and technology made a major difference in the continued defense of the surviving imperial worlds of the Cadian Gate following the triumph of Abaddon the Despoiler in the 13th Black Crusade. The Forge worlds were settled by cult Mechanicus colonists sent from Mars, the first of the Forge worlds, soon after the ancient Mechanicum completed its conquest of Mars during the Age of Strife. Their goal was to continue the quest for knowledge, the central dogma of the machine god's faith, by spreading across the galaxy, despite the difficulties with warp travel during that period as massive warp storms consumed the galaxy during the gestation of the chaos god Slaanesh in the Immaterium and the loss of Mars' original Thrall navigators. Several interstellar expeditions were able to make their way across the galaxy, either using the warp during a period when there were few storms or traveling at sublight speeds in real space. Hundreds of cult Mechanicus colonies were settled across the galaxy, spreading their faith into every corner of human-settled space. These planets were allowed to remain under the direct sovereignty of the ancient Mechanicum under the terms of the Treaty of Mars that the Emperor of Mankind signed with the Mechanicum to unite Terra and Mars beneath the aegis of the Imperium of Man in the late 30th millennium. Life on a Forge world is harsh even by imperial standards. The tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus grade, quantify and measure every child born in their domain to best find their use and how they might serve within the Omnissia's great pattern. The most promising Forge worlders are inducted into the ministries of the machine god, destined, in time, to find their place among the ranks of the priesthood of the cult Mechanicus. Of the rest, a percentage of the most physically able are subjected to the trials required to become cybernetic Scutarii warriors and other more secretive castes of the Mechanicus. For the majority, however, there is a place, willing or not, within the Forge world's vast webs of production as so-called menials. Such lifelong service forms the mass of skilled workers that maintain the Forge world's industries. These menials, or labor units as they are known to the tech priests, are free to make what lives they can for themselves in conditions largely no different from those found on most hive worlds, that is so long as work quotas are met, order maintained and their masters' arcane pursuits are not disturbed. For those that fail in their service, fall badly injured or are proven guilty of some crime, punishment is harsh as new labor helots and organic servitor components are always in demand. Forge worlds are a vital part of the Imperium. They are the great factories without which its armies would falter and cease to exist. Because they provide the bulk of its armaments and munitions, Forge worlds utilize technology unseen elsewhere in the Imperium. Around them might be tracked cities that continually move lest their toxic clouds dissolve the walls, or orbital elevators reaching from the surface into the depths of space like skeletal fingers. The teeming workforce swells with hordes of servitors fashioned from the bodies of lobotomized humans and mechanical parts. Technology is both embraced and feared within the Imperium, and much of what was once known has been lost. What remains is bound in ignorance, ritual, and mystery. This is the purview of the Adeptus Mechanicus, the keepers of imperial technological lore and secrets and overseers of Forge worlds. For the machine cult, and by extension the Imperium, all advanced technology has become part of a complex religion shrouded in mystery and ritual. For most citizens, it is frightening and strange, hidden behind odd rites, prayers, and the dire warnings of their preachers. For a forge worlder, advanced technology is more omnipresent but no less revered. They might have greater familiarity and access to advanced technology, but they have just as little true understanding. For them, the metal and plasteel marvels around them are perhaps less strange, but no less sacred. Everyone born on a forge world has their place, often mere cogs in the huge machines that keep its manufactoria running. Some might rise into positions within the cult Mechanicus and take on the mantle of a tech priest. Others live out their days as mere drones, mastering their trade until they can pass it down unaltered to the next generation. Long ago, several forge worlds fell from the Emperor's grace and willingly embraced the corrupting influence of the ruinous powers. A fallen forge world is known as a Hellforge and is controlled by the Magi of the Dark Mechanicum, the heretic scions of the cult Mechanicus, who willingly perform tech blasphemies outside the proscribed tech canon of their former orthodox brethren of the Omnicia. These Hellforges are wholly given over to daemon machines and infernal industries, where mills grind flesh and suffering is the currency used to make the insane visions of their nightmarish masters a reality.